And we're live.
Awesome. Well, good evening and welcome to Friday. I'm Aeson Knight and this is Mountain Bears. And of course, with me is my lovely co-host, Techy Joe, the cub in the room. Nice to see you
Absolutely.
returning.
Yes. I am sorry, guys. Yeah. Tuesday night, like, oh my God, that was a day. So yeah, I totally crashed. Like physically. I really, truly, honestly meant to take like a short little nap, and next thing I know, it was well past the show when I woke up.
Oh, it was like already into the next day. Because we have
Yes.
a meal plan in this house and it got delayed.
Well, yeah, Tuesday was a lot going on though. It was just like a all day run.
Mhm.
So yeah, like I got home and I was like, cool, I can take like a 90-minute nap and I'll be good to go. And I was, nah,
Now,
apparently I could not. Like he tried to wake me, guys. And I was just like, nah.
yep. And,
So
I didn't move to, I didn't see a reason to move to extreme measures.
yeah. And so
And we were out of
apparently,
wood matches.
well, yeah, hibernation hit early for the bear. Of course, then again, this one can't say much.
Oh, me? Of course not. I hibernate all the time, honey. I need my beauty sleep. You don't look this cute to not
20
get
minutes a day.
sleep. Yeah.
That was mean.
Uh-huh.
Just as I hear the words to the lyrics of Bosom Buddies
Mm-hmm.
pop through my head. Love to see someone in comments tell me what that was from. Oh, we
Uh-huh.
haven't had anyone join us yet, have we?
We've got a worker. I've not seen anybody else, so be along.
Yeah, they'll get here soon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so now.
Yeah, so let's see. This week's been very eventful. We have RBG laying in state.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, we
yeah.
had someone laying in state. That's been a while. That's a very big thing. Also, Trump and Melania paying their respects got
Uh-huh.
booed with a vote him out chant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a heck of a thing to watch.
Well, not only is it a heck of a thing to watch, it I think was a shocker for him.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty big shock.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a pretty massive like moment there.
Right.
Is that it's very polarizing
Mm-hmm.
and had to have been a very strong feeling of I am not welcome here.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you would figure out that for the country, that would be great. You know,
Exactly. But I find it highly interesting some of the responses from our senators. Be watching your senators, be watching your congressmen, be ready to issue pink slips.
absolutely.
Yeah. Um, and then
Absolutely.
there's this Republican thing about how that if the Democrats get the House and the Senate, well they'll have to have both Senate and Congress. They're going to add justices to the court.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that starts from a place of extreme optimism.
I think it starts from a place of extreme fear.
Definitely, definitely. Oh, hello, Shannon. Thank you for welcoming back. Welcoming me back. But
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
glad to be back. Yeah, hated I had to miss out. And hello, Alexandria.
Yeah. Hello, Alexandria. Hello, Shannon. Yeah, he's back for the moment.
Hey.
Oh, but no, I find it interesting that they would look at expanding it. They haven't done it in over 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the demographics of our country; they have changed over 100 years.
Mm-hmm. That they have.
Yeah. I mean, we have now 50 states that 9 justices are supposed to be making rulings on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's and we're looking at possibly 53
Mm-hmm.
states.
Potentially. We're looking at adding the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico?
U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto
Rico, and
D.C.
D.C. That's
Yeah.
the one I always forget.
Yeah.
It's the other two, like, I totally follow. It's just DC always glitches in my head. It's just like, really?
Well, see, here's the problem, and what I see as the problem is DC becoming a state. The whole reason we have Washington D.C., which is a planned city, was so that it wouldn't favor any state.
Well, true. Although it's
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Do you really have like nonpartisanship anymore? Like, is anything really nonpartisan? And guys, sorry, my camera's shaking, but the cat is running around like a lunatic.
Yeah. Well, that's just because it's getting next to election time. Hi, Emily. But no, I think that but after this year, we've seen why DC needs to be a state.
Okay.
The whole armed militia at St. Joseph's Church.
Oh, well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah. The federal government using powers that are normally represented to the state and the mayor not being able to do anything with it because he's just a mayor.
Yeah. There is that.
Yeah.
There is very much that. But then again, you would have to run with the assumption that, so to speak, the governor of DC at this point would be the president. Of course, then again, if nothing else in this presidency, I think we've all seen, and I think we can all agree on, we had a lot of ideas about the presidency and that were built around not doing things and not challenging ideas or general gentlemanly conduct, shall we say. And I speak of that not because I think the president should always be a man, but because the president always has been. Gentlemanly conduct of not taking those steps.
Right.
It's kind of a scary thought.
It is a scary thought. It's also a scary thought that we have now degraded our government at this point to that point that we're now what is technically supposed to be the governor of DC that is supposed to have the empowerment of the governor, at least it was agreed upon, was the mayor's office. The mayor would act as governor of his city. The governor should have the legal rights and powers and abilities to control the city. If we look back at the War of 1812, if we look back at when the Confederates invaded DC, it was all handled by the mayor of DC and the mayor's wife of DC for the Civil War. Actually, the mayor's wife done more.
Fair enough, but it's still it's typically it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Right.
I mean, realistically, is where my mind gets stuck at. It shouldn't be that screwed up.
Right.
It's just it's been very frightening. It's been very off-putting. It's been very, very confusing. As to how did we get to this point?
Well, we got to this point because we had very relaxed systemical things.
Mm-hmm.
Very relaxed behavior, very much a relaxed, well, this will never happen. Well, that'll never happen. Well, we don't need to write that up. Everyone understands this behavior expectation.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And it's kind of it boggles because now we're talking about a potential inability to transfer power if this election doesn't, well, one, if this election doesn't go Trump's way,
Right.
there's a potential of an issue with transfer of power. Not to mention if, you know, there's still the potential of what happens in those next 4 years if he should happen to be reelected.
Right. Which we had a resolution passed by the Senate and the House that there would be a peaceful transfer of power.
Which is great, but again, we have a president. Or something resembling one who doesn't seem to be interested in convention or in even the powers of government that are not his own.
Right.
That cannot be exploited, that cannot be used, that cannot be changed, that cannot be argued, that cannot be thrown out at whim, which I think is a good chunk of the Supreme Court idea, is that if you conservative, can't even really say Trump conservative at this point. If you can Trump, favoriting load the Supreme Court, then even if the legal argument is invalid, as long as the decision would favor him, then you potentially have a situation where you have a stacked jury.
Right, you potentially do, but I think there's going to be major problems with that because we've already seen out of at least 2 of his appointees not favoring him.
True, but how much longer do you think that's going to hold?
Well, I think that'll hold for a while. I also think that...
Rephrasing. Right now, if you're talking about like the Supreme Court as it is, then yes, you've got a valid point. One more appointment isn't going to seal the deal.
Right.
But if you restructure the Supreme Court and it is now 12 or more people,
well, it should always be an odd number so that you cannot have a tie. So that's 11, that's 13, which I think would be awesome to have a council of 13. And that would make the most sense, is to have 13 justices for a 50 state governmental section.
But what happens if you have 19? The current 9 would no longer be relevant. Like you wouldn't need them.
Right.
And the other 9 are all appointed by Trump.
Right.
Or the other 10, excuse me, are appointed by Trump.
Right.
I'm doubtful at this point that, even if the original 9 did not back him, that Supreme Court's going to get loaded with, another 10 people that won't.
Right.
At which point, what couldn't you ram through?
Right.
You could reverse Roe v. Wade. You could reverse Windsor. You could reverse a lot of things.
Yeah.
You could also uphold a lot of very nasty legal choices.
Right.
As in, it could be blatantly illegal.
Right.
But as long as it gets fought to the Supreme Court, it doesn't matter if it's illegal as hell.
Right.
You have 10 people that are going to say, go with it.
Well, and then but what I'm saying is, and what the Republicans are trying to report is that if, we'd vote logically,
Mm-hmm.
and, with an idea of look at where our country is now under this role,
Mm-hmm.
and we put in Democrats both in the House and the Senate and the White House, that they're going to increase the number of justices. Which is interesting that they would bring up that idea, because Nancy Pelosi hasn't brought up that idea, and none of the other Democrats have brought up that idea.
Right. I think sometimes it's the actual fear of there's this conservative fear of legislation from the bench.
Right.
Which isn't what it is. And I don't feel that it is. In most cases, it's sitting there and looking at the legislation that exists and going, does that maintain what we tried to create as a country?
Right.
Does it serve us appropriately? Does it serve everyone appropriately?
Mm-hmm.
Usually those are decisions like Windsor. Those are decisions like Roe v. Wade that bring that up. You're legislating from the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily.
Right.
It may ultimately have that effect of striking down multiple laws across many states or making them fundamentally unenforceable.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't technically meet the criteria. You're not creating a whole new law. Mm-hmm. You are, however, determining that the law as it exists, or laws very similar that deal with the same issue, are functionally invalid.
Right.
Because they cannot.
Which meaning that the way the law is written, it does enforce it in this manner.
Right. But it does become, I kind of see the argument being made.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Because it can have wide sweeping change, such as Windsor, such as Roe v. Wade. And I know I keep saying those two. Mm-hmm. But those are very large laws that had a lot of backlash, or very large decisions that had very tremendous impact.
Mm-hmm.
And were, in a way, I can see the concept, is you ultimately, with, 5 votes or more, immediately changed the country and how it treated this situation, that you couldn't do that.
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
That's also, it is a very big power.
Right.
One, though, it is predicated on a case going through multiple courts,
right.
Which is not exactly always the easiest thing to do.
Right.
To ultimately get there, and you still have to, at this point, make a true legal challenge.
Right.
You have to have some valid argument,
mm-hmm.
To at least get it to the point that the Supreme Court is willing to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to at least have a legitimate question
that
you're asking as to what the hell's going on here. And this is, the challenge to that. Mm-hmm. But this is what it does.
Right.
Is typically the problem that most Supreme Court cases are dealing with.
Right.
Is that if you apply this, there is some form of discrimination. If you do this, there is some form of discrimination occurring. That's not every Supreme Court case, but when you're talking about like massive ones that have tremendous social impact, usually regarding discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are the biggest ones.
Those have been the biggest ones right now.
True.
There have been other major Supreme Court cases over the past 50 years. I.e., women, if you get to talk to your doctors without your brother, husband, or father. That was decided on a Supreme Court case. HEPA was a Supreme Court case. This was not legislation. This was Supreme Court cases.
Well, and again, those both are class-based.
Right.
And therein lies the discrimination.
Right.
But there are, again, there are other cases that end up hitting the Supreme Court. The ones that people tend to notice are discrimination based, because typically it is a large enough class that it also has, social implications. It changes the way we interact with the world,
Right.
at least the world of our country, and how we not only interact with that country, but also can tap strongly into a lot of differing beliefs. That on one hand, something is functionally legal, whereas it may not be either generally accepted, religiously accepted, whatever. And it may challenge the idea of right and wrong.
Well,
as to whether or not, whatever your moral sense on it is.
Right. Well, and it's like they are right now getting ready to hear a case on if religious organizations get exempt from discriminational practice lawsuits.
Okay.
Which I think is insane.
Okay.
I think this court, if you are a corporate entity, you have to follow all corporate guidelines.
Okay. Well, but that's typically been the argument that churches have made, is they're not a business entity, they're a religious organization.
And that's why they have so much free taxes, free property, that preach politics from their pulpit.
Therein lies some of the problem. But that was also the problem we had with we've had that come up a lot here in the last few years. Everything from Citizens United to Hobby Lobby to employer mandated or employer birth control, and how all those things came together. Ultimately, there's been kind of this heavy belief that if you're talking about your employer, then you start getting into an ugly gray area when your employer is not a typical business, when they are a religious organization, because the foundation of that ends up being that if you're going to preach it on Sunday, then you should be able to work it 9 to 5 on Monday through Friday. In general sense, that if you can preach it on Sunday, then you're going to live it. And your organization should be filled with people who are doing that. Where it's gotten really ugly are the offshoots. When it's not, we're talking about the church secretary and the church custodian and the, church treasurer and all those, fun aspects of a church, but we're actually talking about medical centers. When we're talking about adoption services, when we are talking about, homeless shelters, when we're talking about other forms of employment, that it's effectively a business and should be, in many people's view, treated as a business, because the business is the business.
Right.
Or
here's one for you, and a lot of people don't think about it. The church real estate agencies.
Yes.
Yeah. Because churches own property, do not pay taxes on them, but can rent the property out.
They're a giant landlord.
Yep.
And those are the aspects of it that you have to stop and question. At what point does the line have to happen? In which we go, okay, yeah, we get you're a religious entity, but hold up a second. It's fine if you're going to make your money from that. Go over here, run a business. but you're trying to have, like your cake and a lot of frosting, like 10 tubs of it, all stacked on that slice of cake. Because that's ultimately how it feels, is not only do you get to sit there and, function tax-free, but then you also get to do all these other things that are income earning that if you were any other entity would be treated differently.
Right.
But because you're a church, because you filed as a church, because you created a church, and even if you have like a tiny one-room building and like 10 pews and 5 people show up on Sunday, you can technically go do all these other things. And that's cool.
Yep.
And that's how it's been treated in a lot of instances, or that's how it's felt.
Well, and I've even had accountants tell me, well, you should put everything into a church organization. You're a minister. Make everything the property of the church. You have no income tax. You have no sales tax. You have no property taxes. And it's like, no, that's not how I do things.
Well, but the question becomes, where is that going to leave you in 10 years?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that it starts for a lot of religious entities. Is where is that going to put you in 10 years? You could go and take that money that you're paying in taxes, and you can turn it into a bigger part of, or more money.
Right.
It's a frightening idea.
It is. It's a pain in the ass idea too, because then you have to file quarterly about your intake and your donations, or as I call them, bribes.
Hey.
Or speaking of the language of your people, screwdrivers and hammers, honey. Screwdrivers and hammers.
That's true. And sorry for those of you not catching the reference. My dad worked construction and he switched companies. And there was actually a point in which he started with this new company, and part of the ugly side of construction, if you will, is effectively bribing inspectors. Even if you do everything correctly, it's one of those fun little graft jobs. Point blank, the inspector holds all the cards, and you can either, liquor him up or whatever, floats his boat or her boat. And then from there, go on about your life, or you can sit there and suffer through. Because ultimately the word of the inspector carries the most weight, and they can effectively make your life a living hell. A lot of inspectors realize this. So ultimately, it becomes kind of a graft position. So in that regard, he starts for this new company, and the bribe he basically paid, he lists on his reimbursement. And I think it was his hammers. And the bookkeeper for the office, the secretary, comes out, and it's like, what the hell? How do you need so many hammers for this job? What are you doing? And I had to bribe a guy. And she's like, oh, those are shovels. Don't ever do that again. I couldn't figure out what in the hell you were doing with that many, like, she's totally locked into the concept. It's just like, no, we call that, shovels here. Like, don't confuse me. No, I'm ready to go to court and defend like 20,000 shovels, is what we go through in an annual year.
Not hammers.
Yeah, not hammers. I can't justify hammers. Haven't been taught justification of hammers yet.
Especially when you're building roads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, or whichever project it was. But yeah, because he had a long and varied career. But no, it was just the level at which Dad was just like, yeah, it's totally normal.
Yeah.
Like, just move on with your life. But this is the way it works.
Yeah.
You know, you're either paying them directly, you're taking them to bars, you're buying them hookers, you're doing something. You want that, project finished. If there's an inspector, you're going to have to grease some palms. So, yeah. Oh, and Kathy has a question.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I gotta warm up the cards. But no, that's been part of business forever, is entertaining clients.
Well, but then there's a big difference, though, between the idea of, like, buttering someone up. Let me tell you, steak and shrimp will do that. There's a difference between buttering someone up a little. Pardon?
That's why they're cooked with butter.
Well, there's a big difference, though, for a lot of people between buttering someone up a little, which is, free pens and, a couple of dinners. That's one thing. And actual literal graft. Like, you're just paying money out to get them to do this.
Well, and here's the thing with that, though. We see that in other businesses. Doctors get buttered up like greased turkeys.
Oh, no. I will say that doctors, for a while there, were outright bribed.
Yeah.
Outright bribed.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't even questionable. It wasn't just pens and lunches and desk calendars. And it was just straight up, here's your quota. Swap all your patients to this, and we'll send you X amount of money.
All right.
Like, there wasn't even an attempt there.
Well, there was an attempt. The attempt was even more so that the attempt was point blank, well, let's take you on this cruise, and let's do this, and let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Much, much more so than anywhere else. All right.
Ready for it?
Yeah, now that I got the light turned on.
All right. Well, Kathy, 72862. Will Steven still pay my rent and help me until I get money from the malpractice?
The answer is yes. However, I feel like Steven's going to be a little bit cranky, a little whiny. We have the King of Swords here. He wants to act like and get his ego stroked a little bit, but he does help you and continue helping you.
All right. So, yeah.
Yeah. But, so we had, Bears Be Cooking. If you guys haven't seen my Facebook post, I found another item that I have to be brand freaking specific.
Oh, what's that?
Crescent roll dough.
Mm-hmm.
Never in my life have I seen stores taking cheapskate after cheapskate.
Well, yeah. Well, and the general situation was you've been a big fan of, like, store brands. Well, like, you're all about, like, what is the cheapest thing on the shelf? Like, there's a few things you're like, no, we don't use the store brand. Mm-hmm. Like, this is what we use. This is the only one that exists. No others are like it.
Well, there's only now 3 items that are that way.
Mm-hmm.
Bread, we buy the giant loaf of Sunbeam called Giant. We did buy only Duke's mayonnaise.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that was also brand specific was our potatoes. We only buy instant potatoes. We only buy what is that? It's a state.
Idaho.
There you go. Now, added to that list is we only buy Pillsbury.
Yeah. Yeah, and crescent rolls. Yeah.
And crescent rolls. And biscuits too.
Yeah.
We'll add that to the list because we've had some hockey pucks.
Hockey puck would be a step up from what those made.
Yeah.
We like
Pebbles?
Yeah. This was more like stingy cookies.
Uh-huh.
Like, that are made out of biscuit, dough.
Right.
Instead of cookie dough. Like, because that's how big they got, was like little tiny cookies. Like, I've had soft sugar cookies better than this. Bigger than this. So yeah.
Yeah. But no, I was making, the plan was that after the show, Joe would have it was the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wednesday, because, I cook on Wednesdays. There would be a lovely chicken pot pie made with crescent rolls.
Mm-hmm.
And the plan was that this recipe is too big for the two of us to eat unless we want to eat it for 3 days. So the new plan is to break the recipe down into 3 parts, make one and eat it, make the other 2 and freeze them so that the days that I don't cook, the days that we have shows or I have therapy, the invisible assistant can pull something out of the freezer, pop it in the oven, and we cut down our expenses of eating out.
Oh, yeah.
Or stressing out the Aeson.
Or not eating until after the show and then making a last-ditch effort at, 1 a.m. to run to Sheets.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, if you knew how much we ate at Sheets.
Well, it was $3,000 last month.
It was what?
$3,000.
Oh, we did not do $3,000.
We hit $3,000 eating out for the quarter last month.
For the quarter?
Yes.
For the quarter. I thought you meant in 1 month, and I'm like, there's no way.
Yeah.
No, that's no.
Well, you got to figure our average meal out is $50, honey.
Well, that's true. Well, and especially there.
Yeah.
Because, those are gas station prices, and it's always more.
They're even higher than gas station prices.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. Gas station prices are normally cheap food. This isn't cheap food. Pallet has hot dogs for $2 for $1. Our hot dogs, when we're done with them, are $4.87 a hot dog.
Basically.
Yeah, that's why I stopped eating them. But anyhow, that, and it's really better for Aeson sugar to have food that's home cooked because it doesn't have all the processed bullshit added to it.
Mm-hmm. And occasionally we get you to eat a vegetable.
I eat a lot of vegetables.
Well, now
have been eating a lot of vegetables.
Yeah.
That's why it has its own huge basket in my freezer until I replace it with cans so I have more room to store meat.
Well, there you go. Yeah. But no, I'm talking about your go-to is hot dogs. You will gladly sit there and eat 4 hot dogs.
I will gladly sit there.
You will do it for you will do it for 3 meals a day.
No, 2 meals a day. Coffee's another main meal.
Yeah, but then there's, 4th meal. Because first dinner was great, but second dinner is always better.
Yeah.
But that's a book reference.
Yeah. But again,
Oh, speaking of, did anyone catch my reference at the beginning?
No.
No.
Yeah. But anyhow. So, of course, I'm going through, I'm putting them together, snap. Oh, I must have had a coupon that day. Okay, cool. Pillsbury, 2 of them. Each of them take a can of crescent rolls. Done. No big deal. Go to do the 3rd one. And it's like, I got to open another can for this crap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it may have been half the price, but it's also half the product.
Yep. Well, and there is a lot of that. I know. I was kind of being playfully mean. Just because, I didn't get the beginning. I know I made it early on. I made a smart aleck comment, and then I referenced a song, and I was curious if anyone would guess it. And then I was like, wait, it's too early. No one's here. So,
yeah. But, so no, we won't be doing store brand on crescent rolls anymore. And I was reading somewhere that store brands are really more meant for basic products.
Well, and in many ways they are, but also sometimes the products are smaller.
Yeah.
And it's been a trend in discount foods anyway.
Right.
Is to start playing with sizing, or well, discount stores and discount pricing in general is to play with sizing. And you'll catch that in weird places. The first place I actually caught it, what actually like caught me on to the thing, was oatmeal. Instant oatmeal, little packet, instant oatmeal. My grandmother for years had bought dollar store oatmeal. The Clover Valley is what I'm trying to think of. So the Clover Valley oatmeal. And it's like $1 something a box. And then it was like $2 a box. And then it got up to around $3 a box. And I think even $3.50. Before I caught on to the fact that, one, there's fewer packets. The packets are smaller. And all this happened because they were out. She had one kind of oatmeal she liked, and we were going through it to the point I actually said, could you just order a case for us? Like, order a case and call me. I will come down and buy it immediately. Because it was getting that hard to keep it in stock in the house. She ate her oatmeal every single morning. And so for the first time in probably 2 decades or something, I went and bought actual Quaker oatmeal. Instant packets, all, same flavor, same everything else, but Quaker. All of a sudden, my grandmother, instead of eating 3 packets of oatmeal for breakfast, can barely get down 1. And I went, how does that work? And then realized that there's more packets in that box than what I'm paying for over here, and it's like 50 cents more. At that point, it's like it's $3.50 for the generic that's 6 packets, I think, versus the 10 packets of Quaker, or like $3.99. And I'm going, this doesn't work. How is this like? This is a ripoff. You're not saving me any money. I'm actually spending more. The next place I noticed it was canned soups.
Yeah.
Because every store all of a sudden had a store brand canned soup. But then you start looking on them because it threw off one of my recipes. I actually realized this is a smaller can of soup. Yes, it's less expensive. It's also less product. Like, and it's like they literally scaled a soup can.
Right.
And I went, how do you, what?
Yeah.
Why? Like, the 2 cents of product that was in the can was worth, that? Like, really? Like, this is where we're at? Now I have to buy 2 cans of soup that is going to be more expensive to kind of do my recipe, and then I have this odd quantity left over? Well, what the hell? But no, it's been things like that tuned me in. And right. I don't know. I'm kind of going through that period in my life. I'm not big on store brands anymore. Like, wow. I think they're okay for most things, for some things at least. But then there's others. It's like, nope, no. Like canned goods aisle, not even touching it. No.
I've been looking at, because I'm getting ready to start my winter pack in. aka Aeson's gonna stock some damn food.
Mm-hmm.
Because to my view, it ain't gonna be a year I get to go out and do damn crap. So I might as well cook. And if I'm gonna cook, I'm gonna stockpile. So if I have to cook, then by golly, I got everything I need.
Mm-hmm.
And my grocery bill is about ready to come a lot cheaper. My Amazon bill, however, is about ready to come a lot more expensive.
This is true. This is very, very true.
Well, and that's because for $2.36, I can get 4 cans of a vegetable.
Mm-hmm.
That here, this is here, we're paying $1.71 a can for that exact brand.
True. Though my biggest concern, and I think it's been a lot of people's concern, I know Amazon's trying to address it, but effectively what's called counterfeit food. There is an issue with dumpster diving. There is an issue with literally mislisted product.
The way that I'm doing it is I'm buying directly from Amazon.
But there's the catch. A lot of the third-party marketplace will show up with their inventory situated on that site in a way that it all looks like the same thing. It all looks like it is part of the same thing.
But example, Green Giant. The Green Giant page, it takes you to Green Giant. You buy from Green Giant.
Well, there is that. Not what I meant, though. I was talking about on Amazon specifically.
Yeah, on Amazon specifically, they have a Green Giant page. They have that's. I don't buy this. Don't know who the company is, but they sell the same dog food. Where we do the buy and save, you get them directly from the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I wasn't aware they had gone to yet.
Yeah.
Because that was turning into a really big issue for Amazon because there was a lot of expired product. There was a lot of dumpster dived product, like if there was a return. And I'm not saying returns are necessarily bad.
Right.
Like I can be okay with being a dented can consumer.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. My problem is what happened to this product.
Right.
Like what all has occurred to this product? How has it been handled? How has it been stored? And that's a secondary issue that major warehousing companies like Amazon have. And Amazon's been dinged for it a lot.
Right.
Is improper food storage.
Right.
Because they're not understanding, like, that the extremes that say clothing can go through, that the extremes the computer can go through, that the extremes that, kids' toys can go through, or books can to some degree go through,
right,
are not things that can happen to food items typically.
Right.
So they've had a lot of problems with melted chocolate. They've had a lot of problems with, food going bad prematurely because it's been improperly stored, broken seal. And these are all things to consider. Is all I'm saying. All things to consider. In terms of when you get that food product, make sure the dates are in. And making sure that all the seals and all your safety seals are there, and then double checking the quality of it, and making sure that what you thought you were ordering is what you actually got quality wise. And it's not just a pretty wrapper with expired contents or denigrated content.
But here's an example, and I'm going to show the dog food that we normally use.
Okay.
Sorry for our viewers that can't see this. I'll be talking my way through it too.
Okay.
Can't share. All right. So let's say there's, we feed our dogs the small bits right here. The pedigree, small butts, adult dog food, chicken and steak. Yes, they eat better than we do. When you see buying options, it's going to show you that it's Pillsbury store available from this seller.
Well, the pedigree store.
Yeah.
Okay.
Granted, we've purchased it 6 times already, so we just hit buying option. And I can instantly go in here, but you want to make sure that that's the same seller. You're not buying it from Hobo or any of these little trade names down here.
Right.
You're buying it from Pedigree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, and this is where a lot of consumers have had issues. One, especially right now when companies are running out of stock in some instances. And I'm not saying this is like a big problem for everything.
Right.
Like, not everything you're going to buy on Amazon is going to be food, but if you're specifically buying food, be very, even pet food, be very, very careful. And make sure you're getting what you think you're getting. Like, you know, it's sort of, I can compare it with like the issue we had with the toilet bowl cleaner. You know, found a great deal. It took 2 months to get here.
Yeah.
I don't know, and about a month of that seemed to be stuck on a truck.
Yeah.
Or stuck at a hub.
Right.
You know, just trying to get here.
Right.
I'm not so worried about the toilet bowl cleaner. The toilet bowl cleaner, I don't think is going to kill us if it was exposed to horrible temperatures. As long as it wasn't, you know, contaminated with another chemical that shouldn't be in there. Basically, our toilet bowl cleaners are toilet bowl cleaner, and it's either going to clean or it won't. And for the price we got it for, if it doesn't clean, then that's really sad. But, you know, that's not even worth me complaining about.
Right.
You know, as long as it like pretends to do the job, it's toilet bowl cleaner.
Don't think I can clean it with Coke and get a better job done. That's just me.
Well, you know. But yeah, getting you to pour that much Coke away. We went through that with the coffee pot. The thermal crap.
Yeah. But no, always visit the store that you're buying it from. Always make sure that it's called Amazon Choice. And if you can get the subscribe and save, go for subscribe and save. You get 5 to 15% off your order. This is how I have literally cut our budgeting down, because our Walmart trip used to be $300 a month, and that was just about.
Honey, it's rare we got out of Walmart for $300.
Again,
more than once a month
for pets, for household cleaning products, for personal care products. Not the extra food we bought, not the stuff we got from the deli, not the.
But that's a big important part of it.
Yeah,
is that we, in stepping out of the market, the physical brick and mortar marketplace of stores, we're less tempted.
Yeah.
There's less, ooh, what about one of those? Or, ooh, that price has been marked down. Or, ooh, you know, that sounds good right now. Or that smells good right now. Or, God, I haven't had one of those in years. Like, I really just want to, whatever. In doing that, that's also its own cost savings.
Yeah.
Like, that's a side note to point out, is that, yeah, you can save money shopping online. You can also save money just by shopping online, just physically shopping online. Because you're not inundated. Like, one, you're typically shopping for things that you're already intending to buy and use. You're less likely to pick up experimental items, or you should be. There's less of the, you know, candy bar by the register effect that impulse purchase. There is less of the, getting drawn into something.
Well, and for me, or for us, it took a whole freaking like 2 pages out of my planner, because I don't have to worry about it. The 14th of each month, all the household products are coming, all the pet food products are coming.
Mm-hmm.
And probably next month, all the canned goods are coming.
Yeah. Well, and it also, because you do like to shop at night, has also helped with working.
Yeah.
Because that used to sometimes clash. I mean, there were a large number of nights we used to finish the show, go, oh God, we're not cooking. Well, we'll get something at Sheetz after we go to Walmart. So, yeah, and I got suckered into that one more than once. Yeah, I'm now required. No. Feed me first. I know how a trip to Walmart goes. I am not young and naive. My youth has vanished. I know better, and it vanished in the middle of Walmart one night, somewhere around 4 a.m. After a show. Because let me tell you, honey, you could shop.
Yeah.
Like, you were totally game and ready to go. And, we started at the bakery and we worked our way all the way through the store and from one side to the other. And I mean, it was like a search and rescue mission. We were missing dogs.
No, we weren't missing them. They were here.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, we didn't take them with us.
Right.
But no, it was literally like a crisscross pattern. All the way through that store. And sometimes we did that 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And that eats up a lot of time. So it's a time saving, it's a money saving, it's a buying what we actually need and not getting pulled, towards other products, or, and forming a plan that doesn't happen in the store.
Right.
Because we have done that before. And like waited until we were in the middle of Walmart to go, okay, so what are we doing for food this week?
Right.
And then we're just kind of back and forth all over the store, or at least the grocery side, deciding what we're going to eat. And then, like we each had our own caveats on things. Like, I will not buy meat at Walmart, period, ever again. Like, I hate that. Like, they screwed me. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the scenario. That was back, and they may still be doing it, but between the food dye and the what was that? The ethylene? Do what now?
Liquid nitrogen.
Yeah. Basically making crap food look better than it was. Because no way in hell does nice red hamburger go bad in less than 24 hours. Like, it looked like it had just come off a cow, and the next day it looked like the cow died 3 months ago.
Right.
And this should be buried, not eaten. Like, that's where we were. On that one. So I've always been, or since then I've been like, no on Walmart meat. But getting back to my point, that meant that then we had other components to go buy elsewhere.
Right. We have other components to buy with this system. We can't get milk delivered yet. Amazon Fresh isn't here. I don't think I'll ever order online meat.
But you are. Not through Amazon.
Right.
But you're also doing the same thing with Kroger, with ClickList.
We still get our meat from Grant's, honey. I don't buy it from Kroger.
Some of it.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
95% of it.
Yeah. You've done meat online. Like the frozen chicken breast that we know the quality of.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Right. But no, I go to Grant's for our meat. It's fresh butchered there, somewhat. I'm sure they get their animals prepped. I don't think they're leading cows into the back of the store. But again, if we can switch over, and if I can switch over to Amazon on a lot of the dry stock, done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm there. But no, that's been an important change, one, to me, and two, to see occur. Because there were sometimes it really impacted your life.
Well, not only that, but it's not only impacting my life, it's impacting everybody else's life. Because a report came out yesterday. Online sales is now $63 billion a year. And the story right below it was people are refusing to return to the grocery stores. They are sticking to click lists. They are sticking to Instacart. They're sticking to, something that delivers the groceries.
Yeah. I think once we finally got out of the habit of shopping, I think everyone realized how much we hated it.
Right.
Like the going and the walking and the moving and the thinking and the people and the parking lots. And
it's not only the people, it is the rowdy children, it is the screaming babies, it is the adults that need to be treated like children. It is the mess, it is the aggravation of, oh, this was on my shopping list. You said you had it because you have it on sale, and it's not here. It was this is no longer on aisle 4. This is on aisle 14 because your marketing director got a hair up their ass.
Well, yeah. Or it's no longer there because now it's suddenly not a hot product for our area, which that one always bugs me. But because you ran into that a while back, probably almost a year ago, wasn't it? With the lamp oil.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden our Walmart didn't carry more than 2 bottles of lamp oil, and good luck if you're there for the 5 minutes it stayed on the shelf.
Right.
Whereas, and this, not exactly when I was still in Princeton, but I was going there more. No, it was actually more than a year ago because I picked it up in Princeton. It was right there around the move. It's been like a year and a half ago now.
Right.
But no, I was standing in the middle of the Princeton Walmart going, how much lamp oil would you like? And you're like, buy it all. I don't care. And I'm like, back that up. No. If I do what you just told me to do, I'm going to spend like $200 on lamp oil.
And?
Too much. Too much on lamp oil, okay? All at once.
That's only a year's supply.
No. Some things should not be bought in a year's supply. Okay, fine. I'm going to Sam's and buying toilet paper.
Build me my stock room, and you can go to Sam's and buy anything you want.
If I buy a year's worth of toilet paper at Sam's, we'll be building your stock room out of toilet paper. It'll be enough to divide a house.
It's not a guarantee.
I would just about say yes. Oh, come on. You've watched our show. You know how full of shit he is. Oh, come on. Y'all walked right into that one. Oh, come on. You got to give me props. That was good.
Uh-huh. You need to take your pill.
Oh, no. I'm actually a little more specific. After the suffering I went through at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro in what can only be called almost toilet paper, and I at one point in my life I would have called it I can't believe it's not toilet paper, except no, the literal physical splinters in that area clearly indicated to me this was not toilet paper, because this was basically like very thinly shaved chipboard.
Mm-hmm.
That was the toilet paper the university bought. Like, you could see through it. Like, no one was going to be able to ever sit there and write a note on it, because excessive moisture in the air could destroy this crap.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had a splinter. Not joking. Wish I was joking. I have had a splinter. From toilet paper. This is how bad that toilet paper was. So I went back to Charmin. I live in the Charmin realm. No. That's one place I will find a way to pay for. Like, I will consider plasma donation for toilet paper. That's where I'm at.
Well, but point being is this is changing the way we operate as a culture, the way we operate as a community, the way we shop, the way we spend our money, the way we manage our money.
Well, hopefully that's my biggest hope there, is that we'll start to reevaluate how we are financially operating. It's not going to be great for everyone. There are a lot of people that are financially stuck in the position that bulk ordering, online ordering, Prime, is out of their reach. Some of that's gotten better. Some of that is getting better.
Right.
There is a basic level of Prime for people on Medicaid, or receiving other forms of government assistance. I think that TANF and disability, but also qualify.
Yep.
I don't think Medicare, or I don't think that qualifies, but
right. But also, we've seen a lot of places switch over. They're now taking EBT. Amazon being one of them. Also, Kroger's is now taking EBT online.
For ClickList, yes.
For ClickList.
That's an important point. That was long denied people with EBT. And when you think about it, in many cases, those are the exact consumers that could benefit most from sit in your vehicle delivery. Like I can't be the only one noticing the hordes of disabled people, of sick elderly people, of obviously, getting a once a month allotment people trying to navigate a grocery store.
Right.
That, to be blunt and honest, that's a lot.
Yeah.
For them, physically, functionally, whatever.
Right.
It's a big demand.
Right.
That would be much better served by being able to shop online.
Exactly.
Granted, that assumes the barrier of entry is met, that they have online access.
Right.
Granted, that's a part of a whole nother conversation about our social safety net and its inability to keep pace with inflation, and the fact that, unemployment, disability, in neither one of those programs actually get someone to a point they can function in society when you consider what those situations entail.
Right.
That you're, on one hand, you're giving someone insurance, but you're not really thinking about how they're going to get there to the doctor's appointment.
Right.
Yes, there are logistic care programs, but again, how much does that trip actually cost?
Right.
Because you're reliant on someone who has access to a vehicle. Someone who has access to a vehicle has the ability to make a car payment. How do they have the ability to make a car payment? Through a job.
And see, that's the bigger problems, and there are some larger problems in there. But
Mhm.
these options, however, are still there. They're
Yeah.
still functioning. They're still growing and abilitizing things.
Hmm.
Also, looking at things and how they're changing for us as Americans is really amazing. Because we caught up to the game, because the Europeans have had this game for years now. Europeans have had this game, and they pay a premium for the game.
Hmm.
Um,
Not that much, actually.
oh, I think that much.
No, actually, it was pointed out if you're looking at a traditional or what's now considered a traditional employer split,
Hmm.
it's actually cheaper.
We're talking about two different things.
Oh, sorry.
I'm talking about the cost of ordering goods online.
Oh, sorry. I was talking about insurance.
Yeah, comparative to America versus the European Union.
Right. Well, fair. But no, well, but then you also have a lot of large cities that have always had delivery services available.
Uh-huh.
The problem we face in more urban or more suburban and rural communities is that the cost of delivering those services can, in many ways, be exponentially higher.
Uh-huh.
That the guy up the holler, 6 miles in
Uh-huh.
on a dirt road with a little gravel, maybe in some spots, is that's 10 miles out of town before you get to that last 6 miles. That's a hard consumer to deliver to.
Uh-huh.
That eats up a lot of resources between gas, employee time, and wear and tear on a car.
Uh-huh.
Versus being in an urban environment in which, say, you serve a 10 block area
Uh-huh.
and you have a large enough consumer base that you may have 10 orders
Uh-huh.
going out with that one.
Right.
So you can maximize that time and ability.
Right.
It just ends up being a lot more economical in urban areas
Right.
to offer a variety of delivery services, not only just restaurants and that kind of scenario, but everything from prescriptions on down to your groceries, your whatever you want. There's a courier service.
Right.
There's a need for courier service.
There is. There's also a need for, I remember them. We used to have door-to-door salesmen that came and sold everything.
Mm-hmm.
From meat to fresh vegetables to milk to eggs, everything.
Ah.
It would be nice to see that come back.
Now are we talking in like the Schwann's vein or like independently?
Well, a good example is like Bell Valley. Bell Valley Dairy used to go, you could call them and they would bring you eggs, butter, milk, juices, creams, and cheeses
Okay.
would be delivered, and water. Bell Valley doesn't exist anymore. Now they grow sheep. So I guess they would deliver lamb meat. But point being is that's when we had local dairies.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big point to make.
Mm-hmm.
We are far removed in many areas from our food. It's no longer the farmer down the road
Mm-hmm.
or a county over.
Mm-hmm.
It can literally be hundreds, if not thousands, of miles between what's on our plate and where that farm is.
Right. And that's also we run into mineral food, non-mineral based foods.
Okay.
That's a mouthful and a half. Of course, yeah, since I've brought the peppers and the herbs in, I've been watching gardening channels.
Yes.
And one of them pointed out a real big thing, and the reason she switched over to growing her own food was the food that we're buying no longer has any minerals in it. It's water.
Well, some of it's that, and some of it is also how you, as a commercial business,
Mm-hmm.
choose the food that ultimately ends up on someone's table. And when you go from growing, several acres to hundreds of acres to thousands of acres potentially in a commercial growing operation, and you're having to consider aspects like transport, storage, time to, to store, all those aspects of that commercial sales pipeline. You start making choices that are not necessarily in best nutritional interest.
Right.
Not that the food is harmful. Let's clarify. We're not talking about food that's harmful per se. We're talking about food that is not chosen for its nutritional value so much as how much time do I have after I pick this to get this to a store? How much do I have to spend to refrigerate this? How many months a year can I grow this? What kind of climate does this need? What can I do in a variety of situations to reduce my cost? How many of these can I grow per foot? How many of these can I have in, a condensed area? Like all those aspects. And then how well does the food pack? How consistent is its sizing? How consistent is its, visual appeal? How much ugly food am I going to have here? Like how many weirdo carrots, how many funky tomatoes am I going to have? Or basically statistically looking at your results and figuring out, or even going so far as to breed, as in hybridize, or genetically modify food, because it will create more profitable, in some, and literally just more profitable, components.
Right.
As in the corn's more yellow, or the, growing season is 2 months longer, or the, it fits a specific packaging consistently, or, all those little aspects, without necessarily being concerned with the, like, if there's a nutritional loss.
Right.
That, yes, this tomato's gorgeous, but it has all the nutritional density of an ice cube.
Yeah. And flavor of an ice cube.
True.
That was really evident in the tomatoes and the tomato sauce that we enjoyed tonight in our lasagna.
Yes.
In the peppers I've grown, in the vegetables I've grown, and just in our raised bed, we haven't even gotten to, well, I did get to enjoy one of the tomatoes that are growing in the office. That was kind of cool. Just being able to reach over and grab food from a plant to your desk. But I'll be posting, we had one pepper go dormant. So, she'll produce hopefully next year. But I never, for the life of me, thought that peppers were perennials. I always thought all garden vegetables were annuals. No, they're perennials. You bring them in, you put them back out.
Well, can be. As in, are you talking about the capacity to be a functionally perennial plant? Through, like bringing it in and then taking it out? Or are you talking about their actual perennials?
They're actual perennials. If we lived in a climate that did not freeze, I could have just left them in the ground.
Oh, there you go.
And grew all, like Southern California, North Carolina, places that do not get frozen. You can go grow gardens all year round.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing.
Yeah. And then also make sure to check out your farmer's market. We haven't made it to ours yet. Of course, right now I'm not supposed to be going to but next year hopefully we'll get to enjoy the local farmers markets, because you can also get vegetables at a much cheaper price there.
And a lot of farmers markets are now and have been taking different forms of EBT.
Yeah.
And some of them, I think West Virginia is one that basically doubles your money. Like whatever you spend, I forget how it works exactly, but effectively you get double the money.
Right.
For buying from a farmer's market.
Yeah. And, and also West Virginia is one of the few states that you can actually use EBT to buy plants.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yes, they take WIC also, Jessica.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
Right.
I'm not sure about the fish bones and guts. That's a little much for me.
No, I've actually heard of that.
I know.
But yeah.
Yeah. Now we use fish water.
No, we've not used fish water, have we?
Yes.
I didn't need to know. I know it's hydroponics 101, but still.
Well, it's like I told you on the coffee grounds. When you go to change the coffee pot, throw the coffee grounds on the plants in here. If I got a 5-gallon bucket of water,
Mm-hmm.
it ain't going to hurt the plants.
Well, that's true. Sorry, I just. It's one of those things. It's like I know it's totally cool, but mentally, it's just like ew.
Well,
I don't know.
Next year, the dishwater is going to become our insecticide.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so the comment on WIC, and there have been a lot of people that have effectively informed us through their own experience that, and some of it is our own experience. Many years ago was on food stamps personally, back when it was a book. And, if you haven't caught it in a previous show, I'll go ahead and say that was also one of my first experiences was screwing it up. Because I was doing shopping for our household at 13 with a book of food stamps. And I generally understood the concept that it worked like money. Did not understand you could not get change, and I didn't expect cash, and I didn't expect coin, but I really honestly did not process that if I spent $20 and I handed you a $100 food stamp, that was it. And I totally freaked when I screwed that up because I effectively lost $80.
Right.
Or, well, for our family, $80 worth of food stamps. Because I didn't understand you could not get any form of a change back on food stamps. Oh, yeah. The card has made it so much easier to mentally deal with.
It's made it easier to deal with for the retailers, too, because at one time they were having to keep 2 money systems.
Well, I thought a lot of it was I see what you're saying. Is having to keep up with both the food stamps and their actual physical money supply.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a mess. Oh yeah, lost $80. I was beside myself. No one had explained that. I was totally clueless on that. That was the hardest lesson I learned. That and to shop at a store in which you don't know anyone. That avoids awkward questions. So yeah, did that for a long time too. Because again, it was the great big book and it was clear and obvious you were not paying in cash. And most stores, their employees were pretty rude about it. Like even for West Virginia, in which there were a lot of people at that time.
Right.
I was not the only one, but a lot of the grocery stores had some really ugly employees about it because it was trendy.
Right.
It was the 90s. Everyone was anti-poor. Poor people are stupid and lazy. Get a job. That kind of thing.
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm so much happier that it's a card. I am so much happier that it works like actual money.
For the people.
Well, yeah. So that, like, I used to sit there and try to like get my purchases to be as close to a whole dollar without going over. It was like the worst game of Price is Right ever. Worst. Because you're sitting there with a calculator trying to like put all of this together and then going, okay, but I could, like, if I grab this in conjunction with everything else, will it push me over by a penny? Or will it hit? Or will it be like a couple of cents? Like, I used to sit there and play that game. It used to drive me crazy. Oh, yeah. The books looked like, oh, God, how to describe? Ever seen a car notebook, or as in literally the payment coupons for your auto loan? They used to do those. Some people have never seen those either. Or the next best description I have is, have you seen a receipt book?
Yeah.
Because that's how big they were. They weren't that thick. But they were like, it was clear and obvious what you were doing. There was no like disguising it.
Right.
There was no hiding it.
Right.
Or being discreet about it.
Well, it's like, and this is kind of switching topics, but at the same time, something else. People don't know what a passbook savings account is.
Yet many people have them. Because it's effectively what it is. Like, they just got rid of the stupid book.
Now they no longer have the passbook savings accounts. All of them are now tied into like debit card.
Well, they can be now.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the same account.
No, it's not the same account.
Yeah, it is.
But no, I remember having passbook savings accounts that you had to have the exact passbook to put money into the bank. They couldn't look up your account. It didn't have, you had to have your passbook to do anything with it.
Well, but then again, everything was on computer. Like, because I had one. I put money into it for many, many years. It was part of Joe Goes to College. Didn't put a ton of money in it, but my great big giant literal piggy bank. Because it was at one point as tall as I was, but I was very small. It was this giant ceramic pig. That we used to empty it and go take the money and put it in the account. So I had my little path book. I was very proud of my little path book. But what got me is somewhere in the late 80s, all of that data was computerized. And they still made you carry the passbook. Like, you weren't going to get away with anything. Like, you weren't going to sit there and turn an 8 into a 9 or whatever, or a 3 into an 8, and get anywhere. All of these records existed. Like, the passbook was like this stupid formality. But if you don't know what we're talking about, there's a great example in and Dolores Claiborne.
Yes.
Of how that process works.
Yeah.
And it was kind of freaky. But that was even at the same time that, like, that was the ultimate thing on the movie, was that she had the passbook. How in the hell did he pull the money out? That was her about that situation.
But that speaks to an issue that is now even in question with this new justice, looking at the current nominees. Is it can go back to that type of society.
Well, and anyone who's seen The Handmaid's Tale can tell you how well that works, and how ugly that gets, or could get. But no, the reason in that movie, sorry, we might as well go there. The reason in that movie, if you want to understand the power of the world in which, or the world that Ruth Bader Ginsburg helped create, at that time that Dolores Claiborne was set in, it was perfectly acceptable even though she had put every dime into that account, Dolores Claiborne had, it would have been perfectly acceptable in any bank for her husband to walk in and demand his money. Because it was assumed as a married couple, he was head of household, and she was just doing whatever he said to do, and the money was his. That's how property was viewed.
Right. And let's go ahead and address this, because I've actually gotten this question a lot. Do you guys trust Cash App? No. Actually, I can't use Cash App.
Well, that's no with an asterisk.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, no, you can't use it because it is associated with Square. Square and your business do not get along.
Yep. Square and Square Enix and Square company itself, the financial institution, has in its terms of service a clause called the occult denial clause, meaning that anything they deem to be occult cannot use their service. So no, psychics should not be using Cash App. Psychics are actually barred by their terms of service of using Cash App. So no, I don't trust them.
Well, now that's on the specific business side. Taking it a step further, for instance, my business. Would you trust them for it?
No.
Okay. Care to elaborate?
If they are going to be discriminatory and they are doing the actions and you are giving away your rights to your money, even after they've already transferred it to your bank, no, I don't trust them.
Well, but the hard reality is that's where a lot of our banking is at now. That literally, as things have gone digital, we have in many ways lost control on digital accounts. Well, that we are fundamentally built around terms of service, computer systems, software, to count and hold money. Right. And to a degree, a lot of banks have also drastically increased the number of policies and those terms and conditions.
Right.
If you look at something as simple as a mortgage, at one point, that was only a few pages. Like literal, 2 or 3, like 7 pages or so. With all your supporting documents, it got a little thicker. Now a mortgage loan application and well, let's call it just the subsequent document of your mortgage loan is ginormous.
Right.
You can't just walk in and, clearly understand your terms and conditions. It's buried in so much fine print. Much of our banking, much of our financial systems, much of our online accounts, our digital identities are buried in the same.
Well, and I'm going to be really blunt. I don't trust banks. I was taught not to trust banks as a child. Still don't trust them as an adult. I have a bank account because I have to. I have a PayPal account because my business requires it. Otherwise, my banking, my personal banking sits over on the shelf.
I know.
I don't pay $28 or $48 a year for them to hold my money. I don't get told when I can take it out or how I can use it. That's my whole thing with banks. But when you have a company like Square that enforces a religious belief onto their customers, I have a problem with it. So no, I don't trust Cash App.
Well, and not all of it is inherently a religious belief. Again, and I know we've talked about it, but debt collectors have a really hard time getting merchant accounts to start with. In case you wanted a reason to feel sorry for debt collectors, I know it's hard. But debt collectors actually have a really hard time getting a merchant account. Usually they cannot get that directly. They have to go through a third-party company. There's two reasons for that. One is most credit card companies absolutely friggin' hate the idea of turning bad debt into good debt to then file bankruptcy on. Because you could theoretically take an old account or a massive medical bill, charge it off onto a credit card, and then move it out of that category and discharge it in bankruptcy. Or you could turn a tax liability, you could turn a student loan into, move it from a protected bankruptcy class, i.e. you can't discharge a student loan unless you pay it all off on a credit card. Like you could literally pull your account out of default, pay it off on a credit card, and then discharge that amount into bankruptcy. Now, you're going to have a hard time in bankruptcy court with that, just side note. I remember that from my debt collection days. You don't actually want to try that. Because there's some things that can happen there, and none of them are pretty. So don't ever do that. But that's why there's that merchant account problem. The second problem, and the reason that debt collections has a issue getting a merchant account, is chargebacks. People who will give you their credit card on a bad debt, you take the payment, close the account, paid in full, paid off, paid in settlement, whatever. It goes back to the client, it falls off their credit report, and within that 120-day window, they dispute the charge.
But no, when I say religious discrimination, Church of the Nazarenes can open a Cash App account and use it. Process their payments completely. They technically, according to Square and Cash App terms of service, don't have to close it. Covenant of the Crystal House could have a Cash App account to process student lessons with, and they can close it and pull out every dime they've ever processed with it and keep the money. They don't return it to the customer. They keep the money.
No. Yeah.
So that's a discriminating process.
Well, it can be a very discriminating process in function. But also some of it can land in a category of what is the reason for the decision. And that was the question I was ultimately trying to get to. Is what was their cause? Is it a total moral objection? I.e., we hate the occult, screw the occult, you can't use our service? Or is it because within that there's been an unfortunate association? Because you yourself have talked on this, on this show and on Tuesday nights about avoiding people who are, bad psychics, bad mediums, bad. Right. And will literally try to sell you curse removals and attachment removals and, send me $5,000 and I can, make all your dreams come true, whatever.
Well, Paula White does the same thing.
Granted, she does. But how many people react to that differently between the religious spheres? As in, on your Christian side, I say this, and I know it's not a good thing to say, but you want to talk about a group of sheep that will sit there and take, God must want something different for you, and go, well, you must be right, and not do a chargeback.
Right.
Versus the number of people in the pagan community that even if they've believed you long enough to believe that for $5,000 you're going to make all their dreams come true, how many of them are going to be like, okay, my dreams aren't coming true. I want my money back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no amount of the gods didn't deign this for you, so have a nice day. That's not gonna that doesn't play as well.
Right.
There are far more people that are going to want their money back versus, Paula White or any other televangelist that promises you, glory and whatever. Also, it helps that a lot of times what they're actually promising is for the afterlife. And since no one gets to do, refunds and exchanges from the afterlife.
You know how long that line would be? I would be busy for days just processing the request.
But you see what I'm saying is there a valid reason due to bad actors in that market, despite the fact there's bad actors over here that just don't get chargebacks?
Right. I think that it's a religious problem.
And I would say that you definitely have an argument there that on its face, or I would say you have an argument that it is not on its face intentionally discriminatory by protected class groups, but functionally, it is. Functionally, that's exactly what it's doing. Functionally, that's what happens. It becomes a discrimination between religions. Solely because one religion is more adept to running people out and going, look, you lied to me, versus another religion that's more likely to be like, well, I guess that's not what God wanted for me. Have a nice day, I guess. I don't know. Guess the church did good things with my money, like buy a jet.
Or pay for Trump dinner.
Coke, and not the drinkable kind. But anyway.
That's why we don't use Cash App. We entrust with PayPal, but that's because PayPal is FDIC'd. They've gone through the review process. We deal very minimally with a small bank. Like when I walk in, I know who I'm bitching at.
Yes.
And which one are family members and how much I can say certain words.
Well,
Like, I will fix you a salad the next time I see you at a family gathering.
Ooh, that's just mean. But yeah. And please, if it's my family, there's no hope of us eating a salad. Not at a family reunion. Are you kidding me? There's like 5 different kinds of lasagna and potato salad, and we ain't getting to the salad. Like, we don't even know why one of our relatives even tries with that 7-layer anymore. Like, fill up the dessert table. Like, just put the ambulance on standby. We know that 20 of you guys are freaking diabetics, and this is all going to end badly, but yeah.
But
alrighty.
Yeah. All right, guys, we have reached the end of our record time. We hope you've enjoyed the show, found us entertaining. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast and you're on iTunes, it would be great to have a review there, or on Amazon. Feel free to leave a review. And you hop over into your Vammying since I've done mine.
Okay, and of course we like to thank our Patreon sponsors, Beverly Walker, Mika G, Mary Winfield. Hey, we didn't see Mary tonight. Brenda Bryant, and the Crystal Lotus Shop, which if you want to visit the Crystal Lotus Shop, they're at 89 Old Main Plaza in St. Albans, West Virginia. If you'd like to find out more about the show or become a Patreon subscriber, please visit us at PCSPnetwork.com.
And not only that, but you can also get our copy of our newsletter. It is up for the September edition. We're working on October's edition. It should be out by the 1st to Patreon, and then it'll be out by on the 6th of October. I believe it's a week later to the general public. However, you can become a Patreon supporter for $1 a month, and get the magazine automatically with some other great benefits, or you can pay $2 to get that copy of the issue of Under the Table and Dreaming.
Yep.
Yep.
There you go. Gotta love it.
Yep. Which our lasagna recipe that we were talking about tonight will be in this issue.
Yeah.
It's from scratch and from Throw It Together.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. All right, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you Tuesday.
Good night, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.